Hey guys, this is Kay from Mercurial Milk on Instagram. Just wanted to do a video on backgrounds for the longest time, so here we are. I wanted to pick ones that were really unique, ones that you don't see very often, and also ones that were fairly reusable. So once you create the materials for these backgrounds, you can kind of reuse them with lots of different variations, which is really, really great. This first one is really straightforward. You basically just paint a page, cover it in white glue, and then put some tissue paper on top. But you can get really, you can have a lot of fun with the background colors and the color combinations to create some really gorgeous results. And of course, you don't have to cover the entire page. You can do like a corner that you like, or whatever. And you can do like really awesome contrast. So you can cover a page with like really dark color and then put some white tissue paper on top. In this particular scenario, I'm doing pink on top of like a purple blue. A few notes that I will make on creating this sort of effect is make sure you use the white or the liquid glue if you want that sort of wrinkled background, because if you use a glue stick, it'll kind of flatten out and it won't have the same effect. So just a heads up on that. The other thing is that when you are writing on top of this or drawing on top of it, you won't be able to use like a pencil or that kind of thing. You'd have to use a marker or glue on top of it because it's got that sort of texture now. And once the glue dries, it can be really like hard and sturdy, so you won't be able to really like write on top of it. So keep that in mind. Depending on what you want to put on top of it, it's going to have to either get pasted in or it'll have to be like a thicker marker. So you can see a nice close-up of some of that texture here. It's one of my favorite backgrounds to use. It's really fun, and you can get some really awesome and gorgeous results with it. So one of my favorites. This next one here is going to be, what's it going to be? It is going to be the spray paint method. I've used this one a few times. It can be really fun, and once you have a collection of these little spray bottles in different colors, you can kind of have a lot of fun with it. You just want to mix a bit of ink or sometimes watered down acrylic with a bit of water, depending on how opaque you want it to be, and then you just start layering. In this example, I just used part of the page and I just did purple. I ended up layering a little bit of yellow in there later on. But another really cool technique with this one is you can cut out like stuff with scrap paper, put it down on the page, and then spray paint on top of it. And then once you remove it, of course, it's going to have the background come forward. So you can use this to create some layers. You can use it to bring some interesting parts of your background into the forefront. You can just have a lot of fun with this sort of method. And once you have a collection of different colors, you're like good to go. You always have one that you can reach for to just kind of spray all over the page and just get going. This next one's a little bit more intense. It's stamps. This is how I started making stamps way back when. I still have a bunch of my first ever made stamps because they're super reusable. And you can have a lot of fun with this, and there's quite a few ways to sort of cheat. In this particular scenario, I'm just using like foam sheets. If you can get really thick ones, that's great, but usually the really cheap ones are really thin. And you can cheat by using like cutting out like hole punching the foam there, or you can just create like whatever shape you want. You can make it super complicated, or you can make it really easy. And a few things to note with this one is that anything that's a dark part of your picture will be the light part of the stamp. So dark bits are going to have to come forward. So you're going to have to think about like negative space quite a bit. But it's also just like really fun and really easy. And once you make a couple of these, you're like good to go for quite a while. And the other thing I'll mention is make sure to create a couple of layers of the foam, because at least this one here is super thin. So you want to create a couple of layers and then put something sturdy on the back, which for me was just cardboard. I've also used like parts of wood before, and that works as well. Just something sturdy to keep it flat so that you're putting even pressure on the whole thing. And then you can get really fun and really interesting with the different colors of stamp. You can do different layers, different like stamps. You can then paint in those little parts of the stamp, all that kind of thing, and have lots of fun with that. And here's a couple that I've made in the past. I've done some arrows. I think there's an acorn. I had a bunch of acorns at some point. And this is one of my favorites, actually. It's the jellyfish. I love this one. It's so cute. So this next one here is what I use when I have a lot of bleed through on my journal page. As you see there, There's a little bit in the corner. And I just go to the thrift store and just buy a bunch of like super old books that usually are dictionaries, sometimes old textbooks, that kind of thing. I love it when they're super old and the pages are kind of yellow. I think that adds a little bit of character that I absolutely love. And then you just rip it up, put it down, glue it down, and I use the liquid glue again, but you can use a glue stick for this part if you like, if that's easier for you. And yeah, and I love this one because you can use parts of the text and bring it forward to be a part of the page. Like I love like circling bits of the text. I love writing notes on top of it, and it's almost like a neutral color, so you can actually, like, whatever you put on top of it will still stand out quite a bit, despite the fact that there's a bunch of words all over the page. And you don't have to do the whole page again. You can just do like a corner of it, or you can do along the bottom or half the page or whatever. And yeah, so I use lots of like old textbooks, that kind of thing, and you can get some really interesting results with this one, and it's nice and easy and covers up whatever you've got that has bled through from the other side. This next one, I'm actually using this page in my next example because it's STENCILs, which is kind of like the sister to stamps. And a very, very similar concept, except you're cutting out the parts that you are going to be painting in. And it's really easy when you have a simple design and you can just trace over top of it. So that can be nice and simple. I just did like something, interesting. Remember though that if you do something that's super complicated, it's going to hurt your hands a lot when you actually cut this out. And I use old like packaging, like when I buy stuff and it comes with like lots of plastic, I just use that for this instead of actual stencil paper, although you can buy stencil paper if you like. So and in this example, I'm just using some gouache paint to paint, but you can also use acrylic, you can use inks, that kind of thing, but you don't want it to be too watery because otherwise it'll leach underneath the stencil and create these sort of splotches, which isn't really great. And you can do this to create lots of layers. You can use different opacities. If it's something that's a lot lighter, then you can kind of build it up and that kind of thing. So this is another one of those, and again, you can reuse this in a ton of different ways. So yeah, so these are 5 of my favorite backgrounds. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you guys like a few of these. Let me know in the comments if you like any of them, and if you do plan on using them, I would love to find out. Thanks for watching, and make sure to subscribe if you do want to see some more videos, and see you next time.